Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel V. Hill, taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel V. Hill.
I'm getting all comfy because we got a solo session today. It's official, the Veterans Report for training camp. We are pre-recording this today, but please, that does not mean that you have to leave by any means. We are going to be hanging out. Sean Payton is talking at 11:30, so I got to make sure that I run on down there. And then we got the media barbecue tomorrow. I will be showing you guys a really fun episode of In the Sports Office, so make sure that you hang out because, again, hearing from Sean Payton. But then what the heck did they feed me for lunch? That's going to be in tomorrow's episode, I believe. Otherwise, you'll see it on social media platforms. So make sure you are on the hunt for that stuff. I'm going to be trying to do a video every single day for training camp. Either it's going to be for social, which will be like a vertical video, or it's going to be a full vlog, like back together weekend, and do a full vlog, old style, really fun stuff. Besides the point though, does Javonte Williams fit in with the Dallas Cowboys? Maybe. We're going to go over some of the stats here in a second, but our very own Cecil Lammey had an article over at denversports.com. He talked about it on Orange and Blue today. He, has some insight, let's just put it that way, that there could be potential interest in Javonte Williams for the Dallas Cowboys, going in there, helping out Ezekiel Elliott, who now, it's crazy he's still even around in the NFL from when he was, feeding himself down there in Dallas to going to the Patriots. Now it feels like he's just one of the old guns in the NFL, and he's been around for so long, hasn't been able to get a ring, barely been able to touch the playoffs. And yet here we are talking about Javonte Williams possibly joining him down in Dallas. It's an interesting thought for sure. I want to make sure that we give credit to Cecil. We also have to talk about Quinn Minor and the suit he was wearing when he signed his contract extension yesterday. Looking fire. And then we have to get into the big headlines today with Joe Burrow. Woza, what are we doing here? So plenty to dive into, but let's first give Cecil his love because he mentions three names that the Dallas Cowboys could possibly be interested in at the end of camp if they aren't impressed with their running back room. Javonte Williams being one, and then you got two others. This is coming directly from Cecil on denversports.com. Khalil Herbert. Obviously, he would be phenomenal down there in Dallas. I think he would look great. He's done really good things with the Bears. And then you got Myles Gaskins, who also might not make the 53-man roster for Minnesota, but would also be a great name to add down there in Dallas because they don't have a stacked running back room right now, at least. So again, as you can see, Cecil kind of laid out exactly why both of these guys in Herbert and Gaskins would be phenomenal to go down there in Dallas. But what about Javonte Williams? I mean, we looked at Javonte Williams' stats last year. 16 games, 217 carries, 774 yards, 3.6 average, 3 touchdowns, 0 fumbles. Javonte Williams wasn't bad last year. He wasn't great last year. He wasn't the Javonte Williams I think everybody wants to know and get to know, and wasn't the guy that we saw all over the headlines. And I feel like we've been talking about Javonte Williams so much. So sorry if I'm repeating myself. It's just the same old conversation that we've been having because we haven't seen him in a few weeks. It's been since minicamp. It's been since OTAs that we're all waiting for Javonte Williams to, to go out there and show us some flashes and of old Javonte. Sean Payton said it. Year 2 is really when you see guys get back to their normal self. And last year was year 1, coming back from a disastrous knee injury. I mean, his poor knee was destroyed. Last year was the bounce back. Last year was the getting out there, being able to fight the mental game of having to deal with your knee. And now Javonte Williams has to come back out on a year. He's looking for a contract extension, and he's got to go out there and fight for his job along with Samaje Perine, Audric Estime, Jaleel McLaughlin, all of these names who everybody's so high on. Maybe not Samaje. I think he's kind of he's just the other beast. And I always talk about the running back room as thunder and lightning because we're going to have running back by committee. So you need somebody who can just, take the ball, pound it through the offensive line, pound it through the defense and be able to get you 3-4 yards time and time again. But you also need somebody who's going to be your lightning and who can get you there and, get you 7-8 yards super quick, move the ball really, really fast. Like you need one of those guys. Well, you actually need both of them, but you need to have one of those. And Javonte Williams can be your thunder. That's what you need. He was lightning before the injury, and then obviously things got a little bit tough for Javonte, and I feel like I've just slowly watched the excitement dwindle out of his eyes a little bit. Actually, a training camp story for you is I think it was my first or second training camp, maybe my first one. my first training camp out here, and I was so excited. I was working for the Fan. Like, everything was really good. Javonte Williams was getting ready for an incredible season. And I remember that I was walking over to where the fans are. So if you've ever gone to a training camp practice, the media members are always up against the wall, close to the facility. And then you've got all the fans on the hill. So I'm walking down to the fans because I'm like, oh, I'll get some footage of a bunch of the players signing autographs and stuff, which is always really fun. And I walk up on Javonte Williams and I'm like, hey, Javonte, real quick, like, you can grab players on and off of, occasionally. And I was like, Javonte, can I like talk to you for a quick second? And he was so nice and he gave me the best answers. And you could just tell he had all this excitement like built up in his eyes, and he was so excited for the season ahead, and he just looked like he was enjoying himself. He felt like he had this confidence to him. He had this little bit of swagger with him too. And I actually ended up getting in trouble because he wasn't to the point where you could ask him for an interview yet. He was still on the field, and so that wasn't allowed. So I ended up getting in trouble. But that interview moment, like, I just came up to him and asked him for a brief second to just sit and chat. And he was so open and so honest, and you could just tell he had the excitement. And the last time I saw Javonte Williams, he came out, and it's a little bit different when you have a one-on-one with a guy and when they're surrounded in the big huddle. And his answers were so short. They were nowhere near the same Javonte that I saw a few years ago. Like, the sparkle in his eye had almost just dwindled away. And I just thought to myself, like, how big of a drastic change between that Javonte I got in that one-on-one interview and the Javonte I've seen now. And I'm hoping that we get back to the one where he's got that little bit of sparkle in his eye and he's so excited about it. And maybe it's because he's hearing the talk of everybody saying that he's never going to bounce back and he's done and it's over with. But I hope that could be used as motivation for Javonte Williams and not just, oh, here he is another year. I've got to go out there. A running back's career is so short in the NFL. I got to fight for this job. Like, just, I hope he goes out there and he's got a little chip on his shoulder and he's just a beast in training camp, because in OTAs and minicamp, he did not look good. He looked slow. He looked like he was putting too much thought into the little things. And I was telling everybody, I'm like, maybe it's just, I mean, we all do it. We're all guilty of it. You know, you have a spot on a team. You just kind of are showing up for the voluntary, even though it seems mandatory, because if you don't show up, everyone's going to be talking about it. Practice and OTAs and minicamp. And I'm like, hopefully it's just a little bit of I already know I have a spot here, and Sean Payton has confirmed that. So I just need to go out there and like show up. But now I hope for training camp, it's like, I got to show up and I got to ball out for him, because that's what I really, really want for Javonte Williams. But if not, would he be a good fit in Dallas? It's a great question. I mean, they've got Ezekiel Elliott. You got Rico Dowell. 184 carries, 642 yards for Elliott, 89 carries, 361 for Dowell last year. 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns for Zeke and Rico. Receptions, we saw them be involved a little bit in the pass game as well. 51 for Ezekiel. Rico had 17. 0 fumbles for Dowell, and then 2 fumbles for Zeke. So could he fit in? I feel like the stats do look kind of similar to a sense. Obviously, you had a couple more yards, and he was obviously already involved in running back by committee last year when it came to Javonte's, because it was him and Samaje Perine. But could Zeke and him have some sort of, a good mix of thunder and lightning in a sense? Or what about Rico? I feel like it is interesting and it could be a good conversation to have. But what would the Broncos get in return is also another one of those questions. And I don't think a trade would happen. I think it would be something if the Broncos decide to let Javonte Williams go and they don't see him as the future this year. He doesn't make the 53. That's when he would end up going to the Cowboys. That's when we could possibly see some sort of move be made. Cecil Lammey might totally disagree. He could be like, no, they want to trade for Javonte Williams, all of this talk. I just think it's going to be a thing of Dallas doesn't like what they have in their running back room. They're going to wait for the end of training camp, see who gets kicked off of the board, and that's where Javonte Williams could fall into play. So I don't think it's necessarily a trade. I think it's more of a, hey, let's see what ends up happening on who makes the 53 and then go attack and see if we can get some guys there. But it will, of course, always be interesting with Javonte. I feel like he's got such a big role in a lot of Broncos country's hearts, just like Cortland Sutton does. Today on Denver Sports Daily, if you don't know, we've got kind of a Sports Center news show every single weekday morning at 10 a.m. And people were like, pay Cortland Sutton. And it hit me in that moment that I was like, why? Why do you guys want to pay Cortland Sutton? Yeah, he's a great person. He's a good name. But it's because he's got the heart of Broncos country. He's been one of those guys that's been around the longest. He's kind of like a Justin Simmons in a way. But like, Cortland Sutton has done nothing to deserve a contract extension. That's just the cold hard truth. He's got to become a 1,000-yard receiver if he's going to be wide receiver number one. Tim Patrick, even though he's back this year, we're all excited about it, but it's going to take that 2-year growth, just like it did with Javonte Williams, to really see what he's able to be again after injury. This year, we're going to be lucky that we're going to get a C plus Tim Patrick. We're not going to get that A plus Tim Patrick. It's going to take some time. But I just realized it was everybody loves Courtland Sutton. That's why so many people are like, just pay him, just pay him. And I've been guilty of that too when it came to players. I'm like, just pay the guy. Why not? But he's got to be better. Courtland Sutton has to be better. So it'll be interesting. But also, the guy that did get a nice little payday, $80 million, $20 million a deal, Quinn Miners. Look at the suit that he's got there. How fancy. I love the bow tie. I love the gold, the champagne. I think he looks great. Obviously, really, really exciting stuff for Quinn Miners as he signs his contract extension, and he looks good doing it. I'm like, heck yeah. If I'm going out there and signing a big contract extension, I love that he's like, you know what? I'm going to get dressed up. I'm not just wearing a hoodie and some jeans. I'm getting dressed up. I'm going to look spiffy. I'm going to have my nice picture taken as I signed a massive contract. And I think it's cool that Quinn Miners did that. There was an interview that the Denver Broncos did with Quinn Miners. It got taken down. I'm not sure the reasoning for that. Maybe there was a typo. Maybe somebody didn't like the way something was portrayed. But he talked about how he wanted to run the ball a lot. He wants to see, 30 snaps a game or whatever from the running backs. And I'm like, okay, let's see 30 carries. Let's see this offensive line be able to help the running backs move. Let's see you guys protect Bo Nix and a lot of that stuff. Let's finally see it. McFlinchy, he can't be McFlinchy this year. McFlinchy has to be really dang good. Okay, Ben Powers, let's see year 2 coming in. He has to look solid as well. I think there's going to be a lot of chemistry stuff that has to be worked out totally. And this is the year to do it. Right? You've had 1 year underneath your belts together. Let's see Bowles, McClinchy. I almost called him McClinchy again. I'm going to try not to do that until we have a bunch of false starts. But let's see Bowles, McClinchy, Ben Powers, Quinn Miners, and then obviously whoever wins at center, which I still think will be Luke Wattenberg this year based off of just things that we've already seen out at training camp and OTAs. Let's see how the offensive line can kind of build that chemistry and what the communication style and everything is looking like too. But that's why I just hope Sean Payton makes the decision to take it down to a 50-50 quarterback battle instead of this 33-33 quarterback battle, because communication and the different cues from your quarterbacks for your offensive line are so drastic that we can't have any of these, we just had a little bit of communication problems week 1, week 2, week 3. We can't have that. You're not a good enough team to be able to overcome that. You have to get all of those quirks out in training camp. So hopefully they are able to do that. But now, the one thing that has taken the NFL by storm today is Joe Burrow arriving for training camp, rocking the bleached buzz cut. And I am unwell. Joe Burrow, what are we doing, my friend? Your hair was great. Everyone loved you. The girls loved you. And now this is the look we're rocking. I don't know. I just don't know. I have no words. I really wish Richie Carney was in here because I feel like he would be all about it. But I'm like, what are we doing, Joe Burrow? Dude, you've looked so good for so long. And then you go and bleach your hair and buzz cut it. He's like, new season, new me. I'm coming at it. I want to go to the Super Bowl this year. Dang it. I'm kind of here for it. Can somebody take down the Kansas City Chiefs, please and thank you? That's all what we want to see. The Chiefs They got to go out, and they have the biggest chip on their shoulder because of the three-peat, obviously. Is that even possible? Could they be the first team in history to be able to do a three-peat? I wouldn't put it past Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, wouldn't put it past any of them. Nobody expected them to do it last year. It was crazy when they did. But yeah, Joe Burrow's like, new season in session. Let's go rocking the buzz cut. And I don't know. I just feel like I can't get behind this. I'm sorry. Does anybody else feel this way? I feel like I'm just sitting here and I'm like, oh, Joe Burrow, what are we doing, my friend? What are we doing? This is much better. Look at the suit. Look at the bow tie. He looks like one of those, I don't know, like a Flintstone character or something like that with the hair. I just think I don't know. I just think it looks so bad. So I guess let's real quick. What do we think Sean Payton's going to be talking about today? I think he's going to give us a bunch of we're excited for training camp. It's going to be so much fun, like all of this stuff. The quarterback battle, we're going to give everybody their fair opportunity. I think it's going to be a lot of that kind of fluff today. I'll make sure to do an episode of Coffee Break following that, because tomorrow the media is allowed out at training camp for tomorrow and Thursday. Friday, the fans are allowed out at training camp, as well as Saturday, which is back together weekend in the NFL. And then from then on, fans are allowed back out there. I think the practices I'm most excited about, it's always Friday, Saturday of the first week, so back together weekend. So fun to feel like the excitement, the electricity in the air of everybody being like, we're back, we made it, which is really cool. But then I'm really excited for the Packers to come in, especially because, not that I think he'll hold out for the entire training camp, but Jordan Love right now is not practicing with the Packers. So it will be a little interesting to see, how long that waits. He's at training camp. He's there for the Packers. He's just not actually practicing because he's waiting for that contract extension to essentially get signed, which I think is kind of interesting. I'm like, well, why go? I mean, you don't get fined, obviously, but you're just going to sit there and watch all of your teammates sweat it out. The NFL is so weird. So weird that you can just hold out for all of those kind of things. And it's just normal. If I just was like, I'm waiting for my contract extension, I'm not going to come do my job, they'd be like, get lost. We don't need you. But I find it very, very interesting. That is going to do it, though, for today's episode of Coffee Break. I appreciate you guys. I'm excited for training camp to get rolling. Thanks for sitting with me, solo session, chit-chatting away, and being able to sit down and just talk about everything going on in the NFL. Joe Burrow, obviously, get to talk about his hair, Quinn Miners and the suit, but then also Javonte Williams in Dallas. Does it actually make sense? I think it's a little interesting, and I think it would be pretty fun. And maybe a fresh start for Javonte Williams too. Maybe that's what he needs. He just needs a little bit of a fresh start. But I also think having a better team here in the Mile High City would feel like a fresh start. So who knows? But training camp gets underway tomorrow. I appreciate you guys, as always, for spending a little bit of time with me. Thank you so, so very much. Thank you for giving me a space to sit here and talk about my favorite sport, which is the NFL, which is football, the reason I got into this. So I appreciate you guys so much. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye, everyone.